it's also important to point out that it's not just people who don't have much money that have bad spending habits. I see a lot is where people have a huge amount of money, but it makes them scared. They think they haven't got enough. They don't dare spend it. They don't dare have fun and enjoy it. And part of my role as their advisor is often highlighting to them what they do have disposable, what they can spend guilt-free. Do you find that a lot as well?
Well, all my clients were wealthy, and obviously I did pro bono work once a year where I dealt with people who were in a financial pickle, etc. But yes, there is this problem. I mean, one of the things about people who strive and people who get financial success, I know this from a personal experience and I know this from meeting clients, is that some of them have they're carrying a lot of guilt because they believe that no amount of money will ever make them feel rich. And I know that because, I mean, obviously, perhaps if I was Warren Buffett, I might feel it, but I've never got to a stage where I have so much money that I feel rich. I feel rich as a person, and I've realised that I can't judge my happiness and fulfilment by the numbers of wealth that I've built. Okay, I love making money and I like having money. So I think a lot of wealthy people, high achievers, high earners, they carry guilt. They're not clear the role that money plays in their life. And what happens is they get into the habit of making money, but they don't get into the habit of directing money in a way that would make them happy. In other words, just accumulating more and more is the habit that they've developed, but it's not a healthy habit because they're not feeling secure.
What about people who have inherited it? I think that can sometimes come with even more guilt, that you have been given this money and sort of a custodian of that wealth.
Well, and it also depends on the relationship you have with the person who gave the money or is giving the money or is going to give the money. And often parents use wealth as a means of power and control and coercion. And that's been since the beginning of time. You know, if you don't come and see me when I'm old and decrepit, I won't leave you any money. Or, you know, if you're not nice to me, I'm not going to help you out. The chapter in the book called Legacies That Last is actually a very, very good chapter. It can deal with most families, but one of the key things, there's a checklist in there of the 10 points that you should think of, but one of the most important thing is to talk about money in the family. You know, and I tell the story in one of my FT articles about my daughter asked me how much I was worth. We were sitting having breakfast one day, just like, Dad, how much are you worth? It was such a left beam question, and it was so loaded that I thought, well, if I answer the question, and she tells everyone at school, some people are going to think, you know, he's bragging. Other people are going to think, God, he's a loser. Other people are going to think, well, so what? So it was such a loaded question. And then also, does she think I'm Mr. Smarty Pants and a big winner, or does she think I should have been more successful? And so I think the issue about people gifting money, or children and young adults and young people are going to receive or have received money, is there is a lot of issue with guilt. There's a lot of issue about motivation, about your role in life, especially if you receive large amounts of money. And one of the things is, once you've found your way in life and you found when economic motivation is not the key thing, you have to find another way of getting fulfilled. And you have to learn the way to be motivated in the absence of an economic need. So in other words, finding your self-worth in the life is more important than working out your net worth when you come from a wealthy family, because then you'll do the right things. And history is full of families that went from, you know, being producers of wealth, and then in 2 or 3 generations to consumers of wealth. So I think the most important thing when you're thinking about transitioning wealth is to teach young people how to be producers of wealth and to do positive things with it, and not to drink it or put it all up their nose or whatever it is, or do destructive things with it. It's that producing wealth mentality and abundance and doing the right thing and having values, which is, I think, the key to making sure that legacies do last, because money is merely the petrol. Your life fulfillment and motivation is the engine.
So how did you answer that question with your daughter then? Was it with a figure, or was it with, did you turn it back on her?
I said to her, look, darling, that's an interesting question. Look, I think it's not the time to be going into pounds, shillings and pence. Obviously, we live in a beautiful house. We've lived in it for 20 years and we don't have a mortgage, okay? And we both, you know, we bought a brand new car a couple of years ago that we then wanted her to learn to driving, and I pay for the insurance for her, which is not cheap. So she knows we're not scratching, as it were, for money, but we're not flash people. So we lived in the same house. We've had the same television for 12 years. I've been spending the last year and a half deciding which smart TV to buy and how to buy it and when to buy it. So she knows that we're comfortable, but she knows that we fight a fiver to the floor.
Yeah.
So we didn't answer it with a number, but then when we talked about when I sold the business, we started talking about numbers and talking about the sale consideration and money's coming in. And what actually happened to her, she said, well, where's all the money come from, Dad? Because she couldn't understand, because she said, well, you don't have a proper job. I said, well, I do have a proper job. I'm a writer and a speaker. It's different from what I did before. It always gets people laughing at conferences. Because her idea of a proper job is you go to the same place every day, like I did for 23 years. And I said, well, no, that was never me. Me was always being flexible. It was about fitting work in to my meditation and to my yoga and to my fitness and to my reading, because I read 2 books a week. I mean, it takes a lot of time. So that's what I do, but she doesn't see it like that, because obviously, and as I've explained to her, you know, we've built passive income, we've built assets, we've got money working for us now, so we don't have to work as hard as other people for money. But I'm still more than ever motivated to do what I call my normal work. It may not produce me the same level of income that I had when I was a partner in a firm advising wealthy people, but do you know what? I'm happier than I've ever been. Now, I'm not knocking people who earn 600, 700, 800,000 £1 million a year doing whatever they do, but that was never enough for me. And as I say, I hope when I take my last breath, people remember me. But there's plenty of people out there earning lots of money. No one's ever going to know who they are. And for what matters to me is that the legacy is that I leave the place better than I found it, and I help a lot of people find some peace and fulfillment and get the role of money in their life in context.